I'm recording. So we are in Maseh, Parshas Maseh, Perek Lamed Hey, Pasuk Tes. Okay. So I just do a lot of Chumash today.
Lamed Hey. Sorry, which pasuk?
Tes.
Okay.
When you pass over the Jordan River, he said, set up a miklat where people who killed unintentionally will flee. So they should, these cities should be refuge for the Go'el. And this is the first mention of the Go'el HaDam. And the murderer should not be killed until he stands before the Sanhedrin for judgment. Rashi says, "Mi Go'el mipnei Go'el HaDam, shukarov la'nirtzach," because of the Go'el HaDam, who is a relative of the person who was killed. Okay, and I don't think anybody else says anything significant on this pasuk, because Go'el HaDam is really going to be spoken about in more elaboration in a few psukim. Okay. There should be 6 cities of refuge. 3 of them on the east bank of the Jordan. And on the west bank of the Jordan. There should be cities of refuge. These cities will be places of refuge for the Bnei Yisrael and for the Ger and for the Toshav. Although how it works for Ger Toshav is not so simple. But that's the miklat for them. Anybody who kills inadvertently. If he can kill him with a metal vessel, metal kills no matter what. So therefore, it's a metal tool is considered to be a valid murder weapon. So if that was done deliberately, the person, the murderer is killed. If you have if it is a stone, then it depends. It has to be the size which would kill, right? And if it's the size to kill, it would be then the person would be put to death. A wooden vessel also has to be assessed whether it is sufficient to kill or not. Okay, now comes the first significant pasuk. Go'el HaDam hu yamisas harotzech befigo bo hu yamisenu. The Go'el HaDam kills the murderer when he happens upon him, right? And he will put him to death. Okay, so it says Rashi, right? Even if in the ear miklat he comes across him, he can still kill him. Okay, which seems to be shocking because then we just say that that's the point. So Sif says because this type of amazing, right? And if based in did not kill the deliberate murderer, and he went to the Ir Miklat without Basin's authorization, then the Go'el HaDam can kill the murderer even within the Ir Miklat, right? If not for this, that was not the case. Why does it say Pico boat when he happens upon him? It's superfluous. Could say Go'el HaDam Yamisarotzeach. Why say Pico boat? That comes to tell us that if he's a rotzeach b'mezid, if he's a deliberate killer, so then the Go'el HaDam can kill him even within the Ir Miklat. Okay. I don't think there's anything else here we have to see. Okay, going further. If he hit him with hatred or with cunning, plotting. If So this is talking about it has to be deliberate, right? It has to be something where it was premeditated murder, and we're sure of that. Then the Go'el HaDam goes ahead and kills the deliberate murderer. Okay.
Where does trial take place, or is this without trial? Or
Good question. Excellent question. I'm not telling. Okay. Now this is now we're into a murderer b'shogeg. Okay, so this is a guy having all of a sudden without any animosity. He thought that he hit him or threw something upon him without any ambush. He didn't see what he was doing, but he fell on him and killed him. Okay. Now we have the first judgment. Okay, so there's a judgment which is made between the killer and the Go'el HaDam. So it's so it sounds here like the Go'el HaDam leads the prosecution, right? Because it says here that he's the litigant with the killer. Yeah. Okay. So the Sanhedrin saves the murderer from the hands of Go'el HaDam. Yeshiva Soida Imiklato. They put him back into the Mikla. In other words, the Sanhedrin subpoenaed him, summoned him from the place where he was. And now they take him, take him back and they judge him. And then they put him back to the Mikla, Asher no Shom, to which he had fled. And there he sits until the Kohen Gadol dies, who was anointed with the holy oil, and when he dies, that's when the killer can't leave the Ir Miklat. Okay, now there are many questions about this pasuk. What does it mean? He was anointed. When he was anointed. And why it has to do with Kohen Gadol. But we're going to leave those alone for now, I think. Let's go on to the next pasuk. What happens if the Rotzech leaves beforehand, before the Kohen Gadol dies? The Go'el HaDam finds him outside the boundary of his Miklat for attack. Go'el HaDam is a Rotzech. If you kill, the Go'el HaDam kills the murderer. Ein lo dam. Rashi says, Ein lo dam harei kahoreg es a mace. As if they killed somebody who's dead. He's a dead man walking. The person in the Ir Miklat. She'ein lo dam, because it's like killed somebody who has no longer any blood, which is somebody who's already dead. Okay? So that is actually the Go'el HaDam's job. Part of his job, evidently, is to be a vigilante. He brings the guy to justice, even if the guy gets the hook because of the shogeg. He continues to be a vigilante who can then kill him if he leaves the Ir Miklat. Okay. Why? Because Ir Miklat Yishay most going to go. He should remain there, right? Only after the death of the Kohen Gadol, then he can go back. So you'll note that there is called in the last few Pesukim, it's still called the Rotzeach, even though he's not necessarily, he didn't do B'mezid, but nevertheless, that's called Rotzeach B'shogeg, it's still called the Rotzeach. A murderer is a murderer, even if he's still, even if he's did B'shogeg. Okay?
But Mashma, at that point, the Go'el HaDam is not allowed to kill him. Kohen Gadol died, the guy goes home,
right.
Go'el HaDam already. Huh?
Right. Okay, now, we come, however, to a caveat. This has got to be under the jurisdiction of the Sanhedrin. Rashi says, they Sanhedrin Kedan and Oegas, but Chutzaretz calls Matregas Beretz Yisrael. There's got to be a Sanhedrin which judges all these things. Okay? Because it's capital crimes. Capital crimes require Sanhedrin 23. You can have a Sanhedrin 23 in Chutzaretz, but you must have a Sanhedrin in order to judge these judgments of capital crimes. And we stress that it has to be proper procedure. In other words, you can't have Go'el HaDam, it would seem, has to prosecute on the basis of testimony, not on the basis of his assertion. His assertion would not suffice to allow him to kill the person who's the Rotzeach. Okay? Let's go Kofa and Never Rotzeach, do not take a ransom for the murderer, Asher Lamus, who's a Russia that he should die. He should die. And besides, that person who's a deliberate killer, he should also not take a ransom to somebody who's supposed to go off to an Ir Miklat, to come back to live in the land prior to the end of his term, which is when the Kohen Gadol dies. Do not, it's a hard word to translate here, tachnifu. Here, the way Rashi translates, do not make the land a bad place. Because blood makes the land a bad place. You atone for the land with the blood of the person who spilled the blood. Okay. The Banier says this specifically done by Eretz Yisrael. In other words, there's a special isser in Eretz Yisrael to distort the judgment. Okay? As it says, do not defile the land in which you are dwelling, in which I am dwelling as well. Because I am the God who is dwelling amongst you. Okay? That is one set of Pesukim. I think there's another set of Pesukim. I forgot to tell you to get a yeah, we just had it in
It was 2 weeks ago, no?
in Dvarim.
In Dvarim?
Yeah. Try to remember the Pesukim were. It's Dvarim. I think it's last week's parsha. Shoftim. Do you have a Dvarim relatively nearby?
I do. I've got a Dvarim.
Okay, let me get a Dvarim. Okay, it is Dvarim Yutes Aleph.
Okay.
Okay, יכריס השם אלוקיך סוגים אשר השם אלוקיך נושאין לך שרצון וישבתם ושבת ברעם בתתיהם. You eliminate those nations. שלוש אין תבדילך בסוך. אצלך השם אלוקיך נושאין לך רשתה. You should separate those three cities. Because Moshe Rabbeinu already separated the three in the East Bank. So in the West Bank, there's only the three. You should make it even among the boundaries of your land. So every Rotzeach should flee to the Ir Mikla. Which one should survive? One who did not hate him previously. Somebody who inadvertently either the axe flew off the handle or a chip flew out of the tree. And finds his friend and kid dies. You should flee to one of these cities. Lest the Go'el HaDam come flee after Rotzeach. So it's from this. Well, let me finish. Livavo, because his heart will be angry. We see go here by there. Call nefesh below and mishpat modes. Kilo sonei alom Moshe Shom. He doesn't have the. It's not fair because the guy killed B'shogeg. So in this pasuk, in the pasuk over here, it sounds like the Go'el HaDam is not encouraged to kill him. It's not a mitzvah. Unlike the first one of the Pesukim by Midbar, which says that the Go'el HaDam is supposed to be the prosecuting attorney and taken to base and orchestrate the entire process, here the Go'el HaDam is seen as a hot-headed fellow who we can't deny the opportunity to kill this person, but not necessarily that it's incumbent upon him to pursue this justice. Okay, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. ועל כן הולכים מצווך לאמור שלוש ערים תביאו לך. וירחיב השם אלוקיך צבוך אשר נשבע בסדר עושה לך אז כל ארץ אשר דיבר על עושה. So it gives you additional lands. כי זה שמות כל מצוות לעשות אז אשר הולכים מצווך היום לעבור אשר שם הקרב לעצמי לחוב קרבים. נוסף לך עוד שלוש ערים, מה שלוש ערים? Then you do ערים מקלט 7, 8, and 9. Okay? לא ישפך דם נקי. Innocent blood should not be shed. Presumably, the innocent blood is the innocent blood of the Rotzeach B'shogeg. Okay. V'chiyeh ish sonei re'eu v'arav lo v'kamalav yikol nevesh v'meis v'nasa l'chasarim ha'el. Okay. V'sholchu ziknei rov l'chutz v'misham v'nostu l'so b'yad Go'el HaDam v'meis. So here it's very different role for the Go'el HaDam. He's not the one who orchestrates the prosecution, but he's the one who's the executioner. Okay? In the case where it's mazed, where it's deliberate, the Go'el HaDam is the executioner. In Bamidbar, what did it say? Bamidbar a second. Yeah, so the
Go'el HaDam hu yamit et harotzeach b'pigo bo hu yamitenu.
Right, but that's before the Ir Mikla, before the judgment. Okay? In Chav Dal, it says, Shafta Eri ben Makeh ben Go'el HaDam Hashin Eil, B'tzili Das Rotzeach Miyad Go'el HaDam. That's about Rotzeach well, that's a Rotzeach B'shogeg. But I don't see anywhere that. No, the question is Pasuk Chaf Aleph, right? Pasuk Tes is before the judgment, right? Pasuk Chaf Aleph, which talks about Go'el HaDam Yisur Rotzeach B'figo Bo, also sounds like before the judgment, but it's not 100% clear. But in any event, there's no word of here about him being the executioner. Because in Pasuk Chaf Aleph, then it goes on to say, and they found him to be shogeg, not mazed.
Right. In other words, in Bamidbar, it doesn't say anything about him being Yad Beitin, officially involved as the Sheikh of Beitin, whereas Devarim implies that Beitin tells him to go and kill the guy.
Right. Okay, let's look. That's what it says here. Lo sachosein chol love yater adam nakim yisrael v'tov loch, and don't have any mercy upon the killer b'mezid, and it's going to be good for you. In other words, if you have law and order, that's a good thing for you. Okay, there is a paucity of mefarshim in both Midbar and Dvarim. Next week, in Yetzer Hashem, we'll therefore go straight to the Sefer HaChinuch and to see how the Sefer HaChinuch deals with it, and the Minchas Chinuch as well. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Have a good week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.